Per Gilbrand is head of the Saab car's engine laboratory. Tell us, please, how the exhaust-driven turbocharger works.
A turbocharger consists mainly of two parts, one turbine and one compressor unit. In the turbine, a turbine wheel is spun by the exhaust gas, and connected through this shaft, it also spins a compressor wheel, a similar wheel in the compressor unit, which sucks air from the outside and delivers the air under pressure into the inlet manifold of the engine and thus increases the power of the engine.
Thereby increasing the amount of air and fuel in the engine in a way which would not be possible were the engine breathing normally. But how does the turbine know when to cut in?
The turbine doesn't really know when to cut in. The exhaust gas is all the time spinning the turbine wheel, but at a certain load or power of the engine, the compressor wheel is increasing the pressure of the intake manifold, and therefore the power increase comes automatically.
And of course the amount of exhaust gas is increased simply by pressing down on the accelerator pedal, so the additional power from the supercharger comes in exactly when the driver requires it. But now what happens if you get too much exhaust gas?
That is one of the problems when turbocharging a petrol engine. And our solution here is a bypass valve, which automatically controls the power of the engine. We are bypassing the exhaust gas so that the inlet manifold pressure is kept constant at a desired level.
How important do you think is this arrangement for the future?
Before, we used to make bigger engines when we wanted to increase the performance or to keep the performance of a car. But we don't believe that that is possible in the future when we have to meet requirements of both fuel economy and emission control. We are convinced that our way to use wasted energy in the engine and to bring that back through this turbocharger and increase the efficiency of the engine is one of the few possibilities we have to meet all the requirements in the future.
And this is the first engine of its kind in the world?
Our US version of this engine, which uses a lambda sensor to control the exhaust emissions of the engine and a turbocharger to improve the performance of the car and to improve the fuel economy of the engine, is the first of its kind we know about that meets all the requirements.
Per Gilbrand, congratulations, and thank you very much indeed. So much then for the all-important power plant, but now what about the whole car? The new turbo is instantly recognizable by its aerodynamic rear stabilizer to accommodate its high-performance characteristics. The turbo is only built in the classic Saab three-door hatchback form with all the convenience which this implies. The turbo retains, of course, all the classic Saab firsts, including the sprung retain-shape bumpers, the safety cage heavily insulated against sound, heat and shock, and now there's a sunroof, extremely comfortable automatically heated seats, and the rest of the Saab interior refinements with which we are all now familiar. Front-wheel drive and the split double diagonal braking system constitute another important safety feature. And another first for Saab, headlamp washers and wipers as standard equipment. I said there were no additional controls associated with the turbo supercharger, and there are not. But there is one extra instrument, this one. This one tells you what the supercharger is doing. When the needle is in the white sector, the compressor, although spinning, is not supercharging the engine. Depress the accelerator, increase the amount of exhaust gas generated. The compressor is now supercharging the engine, and that is indicated by the needle in the orange sector. Arrived at the new desired cruising speed, back off a fraction, the needle goes back into the white, and the supercharger is now inoperative, although the car is continuing at the new higher cruising speed. As to reliability, more than 150 test cars have driven more than 1.5 million kilometers all over the world from the Arctic to Arizona. And Per Gilbrand says that the turbocharger unit is the most reliable automotive component he's ever experienced. Efficiency is what this car is all about, and that means fuel economy with performance. The figures speak for themselves. At a steady 70 miles an hour, 29 miles to the imperial gallon, 23.1 miles to the imperial gallon overall, driven hard in town and country. The US certification figure, with all that implies, is 21 miles to the US gallon overall. In other words, the Saab Turbo has about the same fuel consumption as the normal EMS, plus, of course, all the additional performance. And that, my friends, is the power for the future.